Hey there, Pokemon Masters! Noggineers, Berkey for Toby here.
And it is I, Loxton, as well.
How are you doing today? You look fantastic. But don't be too flattered, I'm not actually complimenting you, I'm complimenting your parents and their genetics. It's a common belief that the genetics that makes us up is 50-50 our parents, our mum and our dad. However, that's not actually true. Recent studies show that you're more like your father. Enough science for now, we'll get back to that later, but for now, let's talk about Pokemon. Charizard, Pikachu, Mr. Mime? Before I start, no, Mr. Mime is not the father of the protagonist of the show that we all love. But who is Ash's father? It's been a topic of debate in the Pokemon theorizing community, and I believe today I have an answer you may have never heard of. So today's question is, who's the daddy? Professor Oak? Giovanni? Silver? Silver is a character who appeared in the Pokemon Chronicles series who carries a Chikorita on his shoulder, much like Ash carries Pikachu. He seems to recognize Ash's name. It seems like the showrunners were trying to imply a connection there. However, I am here to tell you today that that connection is not father-son. And in fact, who I believe to be the official, possibly even canon, Ash's father, using science.
So what do we know about Ash's father? Well, we know that he was only referenced once in all of Pokemon by Ash's mother in episode 2.
You're already in Viridian City? It took your father 4 days to get there when he started Pokemon training. Oh, he'll be so proud. You're the apple of his eye.
And plus, Veronica Taylor, the voice actress of Ash and Ash's mother, claims that she honestly has no idea who Ash's father is. The only public comment is by Masamitsu Hidaka at an Anime Expo interview, where he said that Ash's father was a great trainer who traveled the lands. So, it would seem that there's no canonical way to figure this out, to find the truth. Except that there is. And as always, it's with science. More seasoned Gnoggin fans may remember the Marvelous Mario Mysteries video where, spoiler, I used genetics to prove that the Koopalings were not actually Bowser's children, and not even Koopas at all. And we're going to be tackling this theory using the same basic idea, genetics, only way more expansive than in that video.
So first of all, if we're going to use genetics, then we need to establish which Ash we're actually talking about here. And I can hear you already, comment section, no, I'm not talking about Ash or Red, I'm talking about Ash or Ash. Red is a different universe, and no, Red is not Ash's father either. But Ash does appear to have different genetic makeups, or at least different hair color, different eye color, depending on the generation that he appears in. So we're going to focus primarily on the Ash that appears in the earlier seasons. This is because the showrunners seem to only really bring up the discussion of Ash's father in season 1. It seems likely that if they had a plan, if they had a character in mind, it would have been planned out then. So let's talk about the big bodily traits that we can observe. Ash has a pointy chin, black hair, black eyes, earlobes that are unattached, spiky hair, his eyes are far apart, and unless it's a funny animation, he has a hitchhiker's thumb. Now naturally, as we've already talked about, his mother will have passed some of those traits down to him. Let's take a look at her. She has a pointy chin, eyes that are far apart, and a hitchhiker's thumb. But as you can see, there are a few traits that are still missing.
Spiky black hair, black eyes, and unattached earlobes, these things he clearly got from Daddy Ketchum, which is why going back, it can't be Silver, who even in his youth had silver hair. So looking back at Gen 1, we can eliminate quite a number of other major characters, such as gym leaders and Team Rocket members and the Elite Four. However, there is someone that fits the mold we're looking for. But first, let me ask you, are you a boy or a girl? That was possibly the question Oak first asked when his son was born. Professor Oak has black eyes, gray hair, earlobes unattached, spiky hair, eyes far apart, which of course makes him a pretty good candidate and would also explain why he always hangs around your mother's house when you're not around. And his gray hair at one point may have been black. But alas, I have misled you. Unfortunately, Pokemon anime fans know that this isn't the case. Viewers who saw Pokemon Forever would remember that Oak's hair was once oak-colored. Seriously, what's with all the naming their children after their hair color? I might as well be Dirty Blondie. And that sounds inappropriate, so please don't call me that.
See, if Professor Oak was the father, then in his childhood he would have needed to have had black hair. Not only that, but Professor Oak is literally old enough to be Ash's grandfather, because Gary Oak is his grandson and Gary and Ash are the same age. However, there is one character, one important character who fits the bill for all of this. My belief, my theory on who Ash's father is Bruno of the Elite Four.
I am your father.
Yes, Bruno, the rock-fighting Elite Four member of Kanto, he fits the criteria perfectly in so many more levels than just genetics, but we'll get onto that. First of all, let's take a look at his body traits. He has black eyes, earlobes unattached, spiky black hair. These were all of the things that we needed for Ash's father that were missing. And of course this could all be a coincidence, but the plot makes sense as well. Bruno appears twice in the show. First of all, as a silhouette, he is the first person to appear in the anime, but the second time you meet him, he is training in an area less than a day's walk away from Pallet Town. Pallet Town, the hometown of Ash. Okay, that's not enough for you? Well, let's take a look at this. Not only does Bruno share genetic traits with Ash, he also shares characteristic traits. His goofiness, his love of food. He's a strong Pokemon trainer who cares so deeply about his Pokemon. Bruno doesn't recognize Ash, probably because he went off to become a strong and powerful Pokemon trainer. Just looking at Bruno, he seems about the right age. My theory is that Bruno knew baby Ash, but doesn't recognize him because it's been so long since he's seen them. And Ash doesn't really recognize Bruno as his father because Bruno has been completely removed from Ash's life for so long. He's been living out alone near Pallet Town, training Pokemon. That sounds like an Ash thing to do. It even makes sense when we bring in the interview that we talked about earlier. Ash's father is a great and powerful Pokemon trainer. It seems that he went to live the solitary life with his Pokemon, like father, like son.
When considering all the other characters, they're all either too old or too young, have the wrong hair color, live in a completely different region, or maybe not even in the same universe, so Bruno actually makes a lot of sense. A Pokemon Master. Not only a Pokemon Master, but the first major character to appear in the show. Noting that even then, he appeared in a silhouette. Which symbolically makes a lot of sense. The idea that Ash was all along as a young man seeing his father take part in battles on TV and bringing out the power that was inside, giving Ash the urge to train Pokemon. Alas, however, the character of Ash's father was never meant to be revealed to us in the show. Like a silhouette, he was meant to be shrouded in mystery. But of course, that is why we are here today, using canon, science, and symbolism to bring you the answer. It's almost as good as a Jerry Springer DNA test.
You are not the father.
If there's still any doubt, then check this out. There's only one line spoken by Delia Ketchum in the whole of the episode featuring Bruno.
If we knew how to find him, I bet he'd train me.
Mommy knows how. There's a rumor going around that Bruno's secret training spot is someplace on Mount Hideaway.
I mean, really, there was no point in the people working on the show to even animate her in. Anyone else, the TV, could have said the line, but she had to come in and say it. Delia Ketchum seems to know where Bruno is. Why? Why would she know that? She has no interest in Pokemon training. She didn't know that her son was going to be watching that program at that exact time. It's almost like she's keeping tabs on Bruno. It's almost like the people of Pallet Town are familiar with her situation and are just updating her. I know where Bruno is. And to be fair, she would very likely want Ash to go and meet his father. She knows that Ash wants to become a Pokemon Master and that Bruno is. It would be perfect for him and his training. It's quite the story, but to me, it makes so much sense. Far more sense than Mr. Mime being his father. That said, Veronica Taylor says a lot of crazy stuff.
And speaking of crazy, Whitney's Miltank. Whitney as a whole, really. That gym battle is ridiculously crazy difficult. But why? Well, we have a video all about that. It's right here. It's really cool. You should check it out.
This is Ash Ketchum. You just watched a video.
Oh, stop a sec, I forgot to mention. We're going to continue to work towards even better Pokemon-related content come 2016. In the meantime, I just want to thank you all so much for your comments, supports, your likes and shares mean just everything. So stay awesome, and if you want more Pokemon content with me, head on over to my channel. Okay, hit it, V.
This is Ash Ketchum. You just watched a video by Birdkeeper Toby. That makes you a Pokemon Master.